It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.
Hey guys, Tyler here. One thing that I find so incredibly hypocritical right now is how people are managing to abandon principles when it's the most convenient. What exactly do I mean by this? There are many right-wing commentators, some of you guys will probably see, who point out, and rightfully so, that there's indoctrination of ideas coming directly from the far left. Now, obviously, those who are less informed about this issue are going to doubt these claims, but those of us, like me for example, will acknowledge these claims as truth and point out these kind of claims in my videos or in my posts on social media almost all the time. And so I do in fact acknowledge the existence of far left ideas that are occurring in schools, and I don't think it's actually okay whatsoever to indoctrinate kids with these type of ideas. But on the flip side, the very same people who are on the right wing want to have their own personal indoctrination onto kids as well. But for some strange reason, it is actually okay for them to indoctrinate kids, but not the far left people. This article says right here that Florida educators are trained to teach students Christian nationalism. Training materials provided by the Florida Department of Education direct middle and high school teachers to indoctrinate students in the tenets of Christian nationalism, a right-wing effort to merge Christian and American identities. Thousands of Florida teachers have attended training featuring these material. A 3-day training course on civic education constructed throughout Florida in the summer of 2023 included a presentation on the influence of the Judeo-Christian tradition on the founding of the United States. When it comes down to grooming, there are many different definitions depending on the context. Now, most people nowadays associate grooming with when a kid gets sexually assaulted. However, there's like another definition of grooming that's also relevant for this conversation in this video right here. The second definition of grooming is the practice of preparing or training somebody for a particular purpose or activity. There is no limit to the amount of videos you'll find on social media of conservative commentators basically complaining about the fact that there is sexually explicit material at school, particularly books like Genderqueer or Not All Boys Are Blue. And rightfully so, because there are sexually explicit materials to minors who cannot necessarily understand the context or cannot necessarily understand the graphic material behind it. And so basically, when it comes down to going after little kids or whatever kind of age, what they're trying to do is force an ideology on a particular kid without a parent's consent to it. That parent who would send that kid to public school would not necessarily agree to indoctrinate their own personal kid into that particular religion without them knowing about it. And so, how would a kid actually know? How could a kid can possibly use critical thinking against these ideas because it was take it at face value, and the parent would not necessarily be okay with that? And so, we need to acknowledge that they need to have some sort of boundaries, because going after kids, especially parents who are not Christians, is not necessarily a good look. Let's go to the slideshow. It says right here, to the founders, the separation of church and state did not mean the separation of God and government. Though some of the founders did not individually adhere to Orthodox Christianity, they were all swept into the Judeo-Christian tradition. There are many documents that demonstrate without a shadow of a doubt that the founding fathers did in fact intend America to be a secular state. Let's take, for example, the letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to the Baptists. He pretty much states, when it states that Congress makes no establishment of religion, what he says that it actually established a separation of church and state. when it comes down to the Treaty of Tripoli, it says that the nation was not necessarily founded by the Christian religion. One of the founders of the countries was Thomas Paine, and he wrote a book that was called The Age of Reason. Now listen to what he had to say about the writers of the Bible.
When also I am told that a woman called the Virgin Mary said or gave out that she was with child without any cohabitation with a man, and that her betrothed husband Joseph said that an angel told him so, I have a right to believe them or not. Such a circumstance required a much stronger evidence than their bare word for it. But we have not even this, for neither Joseph nor Mary wrote any such matter themselves. It is only reported by others that they said so. It is hearsay upon hearsay, and I do not choose to rest my belief upon such evidence. It is, however, not difficult to account for the credit that was given to the story of Jesus Christ being the Son of God. He was born at a time when the heathen mythology had still some fashion and repute in the world, and that mythology had prepared the people for the belief of such a story. Almost all the extraordinary men that lived under the heathen mythology were reputed to be the sons of some of their gods. It was not a new thing at that time to believe a man to have been celestially begotten. The intercourse of gods with women was then a matter of familiar opinion. Their Jupiter, according to their accounts, had cohabited with hundreds. The mythologists had gods for everything. The Christian mythologists had saints for everything. The church became as crowded with the one as the pantheon had been with the other, and Rome was the place of both. The Christian theory is little else than the idolatry of the ancient mythologists.
Yes, he referred to the writers of the Bible as mythologists. But wait, there's more.
I believe in one God and no more, and I hope for happiness beyond this life. I believe the equality of man, and I believe that religious duties consist in doing justice, loving mercy, and endeavoring to make our fellow creatures happy. But, lest it should be supposed that I believe many other things in addition to these, I shall in the progress of this work declare the things I do not believe, and my reasons for not believing them. I do not believe in the creed professed by the Jewish Church, by the Roman Church, by the Greek Church, by the Turkish Church, by the Protestant Church, nor by any church that I know of. My own mind is my own church.
Back in the past, it was common for people like Thomas Paine and the other founding fathers to be Unitarians or deists, and so half of the founding fathers were deists and half of the founding fathers were actually Unitarians. But the point still remains. They did not necessarily attempt for the state to actually be a Christian state. They attended the state based upon these documentation to be completely secular. It continues to say, to be free, you need a republic. To have a republic, you need a constitution. To have a constitution, you need morality. To have morality, you need religion. This kind of message that she cannot necessarily be a moral person without a religion to follow is incredibly harmful in this day and age. Now in philosophy, there are many types of secular thoughts when it comes down to the issue of morality. But the most popular thought so far for secular thought for morality is something that is known as Unitarianism. Now this particular slideshow, I have very little objections to it. It says right here that we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor external controls of government would be necessary. Now the quotation that it says that all men are created equal comes directly from the ideas of John Locke. Now John Locke is the father of liberalism. he is also the main influence of the ideas of empiricism. And so basically at some point in his life, he did in fact write down that all men were also created equal. And John Locke was pretty much a Christian. And so I'm not necessarily going to deny that there might be some influence within the Constitution, but for the most part, the Founding Fathers envisioned a state where there was like a separation of church and state. But anyway, what do you guys think about what I just said in this video? Tell me in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.
It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.